Lloyd, just when I think you couldn't possibly be any dumber, you go and do something like this. And totally redeem yourself!
Eat your heart out, Alexei. Look at this. In off the post.
And it's off the post. And it came off both posts and came out. Are you kidding? Unbelievable.
All right.
Well, hey, everyone.
Hey. So much to unpack.
What would have been an incredibly sour night turned awful sweet at the death.
Okay, I was going to comment that we went from cardiac wolves to low blood sugar wolves, but at the very end, they just went and did it. So, yeah, typical wolves, typical red wolves, man.
It was very similar to passing a kidney stone, long, agonizing, excruciating.
Yep.
Yes.
And a very ultimate relief at the very end.
Yes, you're glad it's over. And so hopefully, but in this case, we're looking for the next one. And the kidney stones, you're not so much. So.
So I'm happy that I was wrong.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like I was that wrong. Like, we allowed them to be comfortable, right? Like, the whole game, they were comfortable. And give me your guys' reaction of the first half. It's a 0-0 first half. What were you thinking as we're going into halftime?
Well, there were flashes. And I think at the very beginning, we showed some flashes, but we were pretty inconsistent. And still having the problems with the back line. But this is the thing that's really got me concerned through this match is, yes, I know we've struggled with finishing, but there was nothing to finish. There was really maybe only the one chance in the first half. And we were low, not just on shots, but our shots on goal was atrocious. And that is not typical Red Wolves.
So two things that jumped out. There were multiple frustrating times where Rafa Menzigen was trying to perfectly time a run, and they didn't play him into the space that he obviously was looking at. And our set pieces were doo-doo.
Yeah, they were terrible. Like,
the corners were not on. The free kicks were bouncing off the wall. And I just, what I kept repeating over and over, my wife's rolling her eyes as I say it for the 3,000th time. There was just this lack of sharpness. The passes weren't completely there. They weren't exact, the dribbles weren't exactly right. And there were times where they were missing that guy who had the run, almost like they were making the more difficult pass instead of springing the guy that was right there in front of them.
I want to say the lack of precision was right spot on. Later in the second half, we started to push, but it felt more of a panic push rather than we normally do. So, like, we overdid it.
In fact, a couple of those corners there, the service wasn't quite so bad, but it was a guy hectically running backwards, just trying to make a connection with the ball, and instead he headed it back towards our goal instead of on goal.
There was no part of either our offense or our midfield that gave you confidence. But I will say it was exciting to see some of the quality late defensive plays that were made throughout the first and early second half. Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah, there was I think it was Capizzucci had this really great tackle that stood out, and then I think there was a play also by Esparza. It was a good block. So there was some good plays. I still think Navarro was a step or two off this time.
Yeah, I think he really needed that day off Wednesday, and probably needed this game off too, or at least to come in the second half instead of having to play a full 90. Had we had a healthy Jorge Luna maybe we would have had
I think that's fair.
Had we taken advantage of early in the game and, built up a lead, you probably would have seen Luna come on, but we had to make offensive substitutions to try to save points from this game. And so, yeah, I think, and that to me is what it is he's just tired, and everyone in this game looked like they were tired from having to play 3 games in 7 days. And then, the last game having kind of an emotional victory at the end and then having to travel.
Yep.
Well,
and so let's look at that goal that they got on us first.
Okay.
I do enjoy taking a look at these goals and kind of breaking them down a little bit. So here's what that looked like.
Contact in the middle. Rayo. Ball at his foot. Somehow still through all that. Waldeck sends it in. Header to the far post. Nicky Hernandez puts North Texas on top.
So during this, Alex pointed something out that I didn't really think about that he texted, and I'm going to go back to it here. The positioning of Trilk. This is one of the few times where I would say this goal may fall a little bit on him. He is definitely not in a position that he can cover any of the wide part of the goal. He's basically positioned it and said, I'm assuming he's going to come to his near post, not far post, and that 100% opens it up wide for the other side, and as he comes in, it's a wide open, easy goal for him.
Yeah, and he had multiple saves later in the match. Prior to that, I think very soon prior to that, there was a pretty good one-on-one where he managed to parry it wide, I think with his knee, basically. That he did a really good job cutting that angle down on Kazoo. So I would still say he's probably the man of the match. He ran up to take that final free kick. And I remember saying to my wife, gosh, I hope Trilk gets this one.
Well, my kids were like, the only thing that could have made that better was if it was Trilk. So speaking of that extra time goal, we don't want to be on here forever. It is already almost 11:30 Eastern time. We going into that extra time, right before we hit the 90-minute mark, they went into a cramping. Let me see if I get this right. Cramping world. And they needed to sub off. And so that guy left around the 91st minute. And then there were 6 and a half minutes of extra time. 6 minutes of extra time.
Listen, Adam, they've been playing and training in that place with those conditions for like 4 months now. To expect them to be fully acclimated and not cramp is really asking a lot of guys who play there year round.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they got 6 minutes. After you started in the 91:15 mark, the our player gets taken out by their guy around the 97-minute mark, right at the end of when, basically, I think it's safe to say if they had successfully stopped us there, that would have been the last play. But as is always the case, you have to play that penalty out, right? You have to play that free kick. And so the free kick, which, ended the game basically, looked like this.
In the box. Ortiz whips it in. Across back post. We've seen this movie before. Chattanooga will not say die.
See, I thought it was Jackson at first.
I think it is Jackson that gets the goal. So that's kind of why I wanted to bring this in slow motion.
So the broadcast too, when they came back from their kind of post-game commercial break, they slowed it down, frame by frame. Zapruder, like, is that not good? We're in Dallas. That's probably not appropriate. But frame by frame, and you see it glance off of Jackson. They've got it zoomed in, so you can really see it glance off the top of Jackson Dietrich's head. So first professional goal.
Nice.
Salvages a point for the team. When we were at the winter combine here in Chattanooga, obviously I'm not going to take credit. Coach Jimmy Obleda and Sean McDaniel made the pick, but I remember seeing him thinking, gosh, this guy looks pretty good. Out of all the people that they have, if they're going to sign someone, I'm thinking this guy's probably going to be the one.
And his last name's Dietrich. So
and his last name's
Dietrich.
Dietrich. We had an opening for the team Dietrich. So, and you've gone back to this again, Adam. You've said it multiple weeks. He's proved himself. He is earning his playing time. He's coming in as an effective fresh legs towards the very end of the game, and he is earning more and more minutes. With his play.
I would say of the subs, obviously he just scored the goal. You're really important, but even before that, I would say of the subs, he was the most impactful. More than
if it comes up, I'll say it.
If Alex, if it comes up, you're going to say it.
Yeah. So I'm going to make sure it doesn't come up. So
I would say of those subs, though, Dietrich was more impactful than easily more impactful than a number of them. Where I think Markey had a couple plays here or there, but he was easily, even prior to the goal, I thought he had the most impact.
Yeah, Markey had some moves, but it felt like he wasn't in sync. And that's kind of felt like the whole game and the whole team that they were out of sync. And usually when Markey comes in and makes his impact, it's, the others are there with him. So he kind of felt very lone wolf today. But Dietrich did come out really strong.
So
and I want to cut off Alex every time he talks, so that way he won't be able to be brought up.
Crew. We were wanting to know the injuries were put up. And Blake Frischknecht was listed as one of the injured players.
Yeah.
Were y'all aware of any of that? So we know he didn't play at all against Tormenta.
Right.
And he didn't even make the 18 in this game. So what do you guys think is going on with Frischie? And is that one of the reasons why we've gotten Menzigen more involved? They were really slowly getting him back into play.
I don't know the injury, but I would not put them as this. I think that's more coincidental. I think the plan has always been ramping Rafa up more and more and more, and eventually having him be a 90-minute player. So I think it's more coincidental than it is a reason or cause in effect.
I'm going to say if Blake Frischknecht is not injured, he would have been available. So that's one thing I am going to. Hopefully, it's very short term. But looking at the rest of the roster. There's several of them I would pick Blake ahead. So that's why I'm kind of thinking there's something, but because we haven't heard about it, hopefully that means it's not a major issue.
Yeah. Well, we wanted to make this quick. You guys already had to hear from us for an hour today. Do you have anything else you guys wanted to cover before we say goodbye?
No, I can't think of anything.
All right. On that note, we will hopefully be recording on Thursday for a preview of the home match that is coming up with, I believe, the reveal of the third kit. So hopefully we will get to not see a rusty kit on Saturday.
I think he means we hope we will. That's what I'm really hoping for. It would be amazing. It would be amazing if it.
As usual, Adam likes to pretend he's against fun.
Yeah.
3 weeks from now, you'll see him at the game in a rusty third kit.
Seems highly unlikely. And on that note,
bye. 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 Bye.